ready for the Joe Morley Sports Show.
Hey folks, welcome to the Joe Morley Sports Show. I'm Joe Morley, and today we're going to talk about the NFL Draft. You know, it should be one of the last episodes that I go strictly NFL. I was going strictly NFL just because of the NFL Draft. Now we can get into the other sports, the Major League Baseball and some NFL, but today we'll go strictly NFL. We'll talk about my favorite picks. I have an apology to make, which I'm not happy to make, but I'll make it because I know I was wrong, so I will make the apology because when you're wrong, I guess you got to come out and say it, because that way then all you haters out there try to hate more, then at least I'll get to the front of that. So here it goes. I'll just knock it out of the way just because I don't really want to do it, but I'm going to have to do it. I apologize to the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, all you Dallas Cowboy fans. You know, I gave you guys a hard time because of your first round pick. You guys took CeeDee Lamb, which is a great player. I'm not knocking CeeDee Lamb's athletic ability. I don't think he's not going to be great in the NFL. He should be a great player, but that was a luxury pick for the Cowboys at that time, which they couldn't afford. But the Cowboys and Jerry Jones made me eat crow, made me eat my own words because they had a great draft. The draft fell to them and fell to them greatly, and it made that first round pick look even better, and not much as a luxury as it was, because now they picked up quality players in that draft. I'm not saying the Cowboys had the best draft of the whole weekend, but I'm saying they had a great draft. They had a good draft. I mean, you pick up CeeDee Lamb, who's considered a top 3 wide receiver, to go along with Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper already, so you're in the number one offense that you've already had. But then you go and replace Frederick with Biadash, who you got. It's going to be like a steal. That's kind of a steal if you think about it, how good he is. If you watch tape on him, he's actually pretty good. And then they picked up 2 cornerbacks in Diggs and Robinson, which I think is very impressive. I mean, I'm not saying it's the number one draft, but I am apologizing because the Cowboys did have a good draft, and like I said, after day one, after round one, you're like, that's a luxury pick you couldn't afford. But then, you know, they go out and do this, and they show that Jerry Jones might still have it. I don't know if he's still calling the shots or who's calling the shots over there, but whoever it is did a really good job, and Cowboy fans should be very excited about the upcoming season. Now, calm down, Cowboy fans. I'm not saying go out there and say we're going to the championship. Yeah, you're not going to go 8-8. Maybe you will go 9-7 this year with all these great additions. But calm down. Don't go out there and be annoying like you normally are and say, hey, we're going to win the Super Bowl, because you're not that good yet. Your defense is not that good yet. You need to prove that these guys are good. Gallimore was a great draft pick. Picking up Gerald McCoy on the free agency should be helpful, but you're not that great. I'm just saying you had a good draft. I'm not saying you're going to win a championship, so don't turn my words and go, yeah, Joe Morley Sports Show said we're winning the championship, so we're Dallas Cowboy train all the way, and go get your 2021 Super Bowl championship tattoos and stuff. Don't do that. You calm down, Cowboy fans. Stop being annoying and just be a realist and say, hey, maybe we might actually get over that 8-8 hump this year. That's enough about the Cowboys. We're gonna give them, all the fans a big head out there, and they already have a big head, so we don't need that growing anymore. So, like I said, I don't give draft grades. I don't like going A+ here, B+. Oh, they got an F. But I will say I like the draft, or I didn't like the draft. And what I'm gonna say is one draft that I hated, and I really hated this, and I was very adamant about last time. It was the Green Bay Packers draft. I don't understand what they were doing. You have Aaron Rodgers, and you go out there and you draft a backup to Aaron Rodgers, and you draft a backup to running back that could be great in this league, but you don't need him at this moment. So the Green Bay Packers are the team. I think everybody had a great draft except for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, how can you say that the Green Bay Packers had a good draft when they didn't do anything? They addressed wide receiver, in the 5th round? So if I had to say that anybody failed the draft, or I'm not going to give them a grade, I'm not going to say F. I'm not going to give them the same grades that, you and I got in high school, Fs on our report card. I'm going to say that they failed the draft. They didn't address the needs that they needed. Every other team, if you look, addressed needs at the time that they needed to, except for the Green Bay Packers. Maybe they're happy with losing one game before the Super Bowl. Maybe they're happy with that. Maybe that's what the Packers fans are going to be consistent with. Hey, we'll make the playoffs. We might not go to the Super Bowl, but at least we're there. We're a playoff team. That's what matters. I don't know. But I'll tell you one team in their division that loaded up, and it's the Minnesota Vikings. I thought the Minnesota Vikings had an excellent draft. The Minnesota Vikings took 15 players in this draft. 15. And you know what they addressed? They addressed wide receiver, offensive line, cornerbacks, defensive line, safety, and you know what? They even threw a linebacker in there. So everything that you could ask for, they went and improved, and they got players to compete at those positions to improve, to go after the Green Bay Packers, which didn't do anything to improve their team. And you know what else the Minnesota Vikings did? They came up on 3 picks for next year's draft, the 2021 NFL draft, along with the pick that they already got for Diggs. So 4 picks extra already for next year's draft. So Minnesota is loading up. And if you don't like what the Minnesota Vikings are doing, I mean, my favorite pick was Justin Jefferson. That was a great pick. Jefferson, Gladney, and offensive tackle Cleveland is the 3 first picks that the Minnesota Vikings took. And those 3 guys were all rumored to go first round. So those 3 first round picks, if you think about it, are 3 first round talent guys that the Minnesota Vikings were able to steal off the board in this draft. That's just, 3 of the 15 players that they brought in. So the Minnesota Vikings are going to be able to compete this year, and they should be able to compete hard with the Green Bay Packers. Another team I like, and it looked like they had 1 goal in mind, and that was 1 goal going into the NFL draft, and that was to draft defense. And it was defense, and that was the Carolina Panthers. They were trying to return to the glory days. I mean, I guess they said, hey, we already have a Christian McCaffrey on offense, and he's going to be our weapons. We have Curtis Samuel, that's going to go out there and catch some passes for us, and, DJ Moore. So we have our great offense. We got to hope that Teddy Bridgewater does what he can. We're paying him to come in and do, so we're hoping our offense is already there. So let's load up on defense and load up on defense and load up on defense, and that's what they did. I mean, just starting with their first 2 picks, they got Derek Brown, the defensive tackle, and then they took Gross Matos, the defensive end. And so you got 2 first-round talents right there on your defensive line that should anchor that defensive line for years to come, along with all the other draft picks that you took on defense. So the Carolina Panthers had 1 goal, and that was defense, and they loaded up, and they put speed on that defense to help, which they're going to need in that division. I mean, in that NFC South, you're going to need defense. I mean, your offense better put up some points too, because you're going to face Tom Brady. You're going to face Matt Ryan. You're going to face Drew Brees. So you better be able to stop them, and you better be able to put up points. So they're going to rely a lot on Christian McCaffrey, but they're hoping this young defense is going to help him and help, get some stops so that Christian McCaffrey doesn't have to score 6 or 7 touchdowns a game. One of the best fits of the draft, I think, was actually like a big surprise to people. And this guy was falling. He was falling. They said, he could have go as high as the middle of the first round, or he could, no later than a couple picks into the second round. Well, that was wide receiver Denzel Mims. And Denzel Mims, let me tell you, he fell, but he fell in the draft. And, it reminded me last year of DK Metcalf when he was falling, and everybody's like, where's DK Metcalf? And DK Metcalf ended up falling to the Seattle Seahawks, which turned out pretty good for him, right? So, just because you fall doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Sometimes it even works out to be a better thing because you fall to the team that actually needs you. And that's what happens right here with Denzel Mims, that he was the 13th wide receiver taken off the board in this draft. I mean, that's crazy if you think about it. When he was supposed to go first round, he was supposed to go before all these other people, but he dropped. So he fell to the New York Jets, which you have to be happy with that. He could become their number 1 wide receiver right now. I mean, they have Jamison Crowder, Doxson, and Brandon Perriman, and I'm not a big fan of Perriman or Doxson, but Crowder's pretty good, but Crowder could be that number 2 guy right next to him, and you hope Le'Veon Bell finds, a little bit of the old form that he has, and the Jets offense can get it going, and Adam Gase can actually be the offensive genius that they thought he would be, and Sam Darnold can succeed with these new weapons. And if you want to talk fantasy football already, it's a little too early to talk fantasy football, but if you're going to talk fantasy football and you take a Denzel Mims right there, because Mims has to be mad, he has to be pissed. He fell from being a first-round talent to being the 13th wide receiver taken off the board. He was 5 picks away for being a third-round pick, so he's going to have that little chip on his shoulder to get him to succeed. He's already in the New York market where he's going to have to perform, so I think that's going to be a great, at least fantasy guy to look after. You're not going to take him first round in the fantasy draft, but it's somebody to watch throughout the offseason and where they go and how does he do in training camp, how his connection with Sam Darnold is. But that's a great pickup for him to drop to 59 and the Jets to be able to get a number 1 wide receiver in the second round. 5 picks, like I said, 5 picks before the third round is very good and very good for the New York Jets. I want to talk about one thing. I want to show you that I'm not like your ESPNs. I'm not like your NFL Network. I'm not here to kiss anybody's butt. I'm not here to change my mind about anything, because like the Green Bay Packers, they took Jordan Love. They took quarterback Jordan Love. What gets me to about that is everybody's like, well, Jordan Love's a great talent. And if you watch mock drafts and you talk pre-show, pre-mock NFL draft shows, everybody's building up Jordan Love. He could be the number 3 quarterback in the draft. He's at least a number 4 quarterback in the draft, and he's ready to go. He's all this. And then they're saying, he could be drafted by the Oakland Raiders, or Las Vegas. And sorry, I always say Las Vegas, but they're saying Las Vegas Raiders could take him. The Chargers could take him. Jacksonville could take Jordan Love. Jordan Love is ready to play, and he's going to get a team, and he's going to go there and start. But then he gets drafted by the Green Bay Packers. And what does ESPN and Chris Mortensen and the rest of the draft coverage say? They change their mind, and they're like, oh, that's a good fit for him to go and learn from Aaron Rodgers. That's such a great – he was not ready to start. All of a sudden, he goes to the Green Bay Packers, and the Main Street media, ESPN, and Chris Mortensen want to not piss off Aaron Rodgers, so they want to say that Jordan Love's not ready and he's going to have to sit. But if Jordan Love would have went to any other team, the Miami Dolphins, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Jaguars, any other team, what would ESPN be saying about them? They'd be saying Jordan Love's ready to go. Oh, quarterback controversy in these towns. Tyrod Taylor, Derek Carr, watch out for your job because Jordan Love's going to take it. But now that Jordan Love goes to the Packers, what? Oh, he's going to back up Aaron Rodgers. Let's be nice to Aaron Rodgers. Well, discount, double check this, Aaron Rodgers. He's good enough to take your job this offseason. So if you don't show up and you start to underperform like you have the last couple of seasons, the Packers might replace you. So to say that Jordan Love is 2 years away is an understatement, because at any time, anywhere, a player can show up and outperform somebody else, especially when they know that their job, they have to go out there and compete and take somebody's job. And that's what Jordan Love is going to do. Yeah, he wants to learn from Aaron Rodgers, but he also wants to start. A player never wants to go sit somewhere and just sit there for a couple of years. They want to play, and they want to eventually win. And so bringing Jordan Love in is a quarterback controversy. It has to be a quarterback controversy. You can downplay it all you want, but it's going to be a quarterback controversy. Not that Jordan Love is good enough. I don't think he can go out there and beat Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not going to downplay the fact that he can't. Everybody goes out there. There's been players that you never know about go out there and beat out players that you thought were going to take the job. Matt Flynn got beat out twice by Russell Wilson and Derek Carr. So to tell me that Jordan Love can't go out and beat Aaron Rodgers is not a factual, because Aaron Rodgers needs to go out there and compete, and he needs to beat it, and he needs to be scared of Jordan Love. Last thing I'm going to talk about is Jameis Winston. He signed with the New Orleans Saints, which I think is a very good pickup for the Saints, and I think it's a very good career move for Winston. Winston gets to go, and we all knew that he wasn't going to get the starting job this year. A lot of people were going to hate on him because of the 30 interceptions he threw last year, and the way that Tampa Bay was saying all their problems was on Winston. Well, we're going to find out about that. But taking Winston, putting him on the Saints is excellent. One, he gets to get back at Tampa Bay, because guess what? He knows all the plays in Tampa Bay. So, he's going to tell Sean Payton that. He gets to learn from Drew Brees, who we don't know how long Drew Brees is going to play. It took him a while to say that he was actually going to come back this year. And then Jameis Winston gets to learn from him, which I think Jameis Winston would have learned good from in Pittsburgh or him. So this is a great move for him. And then he gets to compete with Tyson Hill when Brees is ready to leave. So it's a great move for Winston, and it's a great move for the Saints. And Tampa Bay has to be kicking themselves like, oh man, we just let Winston go to our division rival just because we wanted to pick up a 42-year-old quarterback. I'm not knocking Tom Brady, but Tom Brady, is not a lot of teams were jumping on Tom Brady like you think he was. There was only really 2 teams that were going after Tom Brady, 2 and 3 if you count the Patriots. But the Chargers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there wasn't a lot of teams knocking on the door. A lot of teams tested on it, but you can't put your future on a 42-year-old quarterback. I don't know why I always go back to Tampa Bay, but it's a good fit for Winston in New Orleans. It's a good fit for the Saints, and he should learn a lot there, and hopefully it furthers his career, and he can become another NFL starter down the line, just like they did to Teddy Bridgewater's career. But like I said, my last written notes on the NFL draft, every team did good except for the Green Bay Packers. If you are a fan and you're saying, my team did good, I don't know if they did good, well, ask yourself, are you a fan of the Green Bay Packers? If no, then yes, your team did good. If yes, then yes, your team sucked. If you're a fan of the Green Bay Packers, you can't be happy about this draft. If you're a fan of any other team, just be thankful you're not a fan of the Green Bay Packers. So that's all I have to say today, and that's the end of my show. And I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you share this with your friends. Get the word out, the Joe Morley Sports Show. I give the real takes that you guys want to hear. Stay healthy, guys. Stay healthy, my friends.